So before we get into the game, why don't we first get an understanding for what Newgrounds is. Now, for the few of you out there watching this video and might not know anything about Newgrounds, well, I'll give the best explanation that I can. Newgrounds is a site where people often share their own animations and video games, most of which are made using the program Flash. Okay, it's more than just that, but those are the things I personally know Newgrounds for the most. This kinda goes without saying, but Newgrounds has had quite the huge influence on what is considered modern day internet culture, and it's where a few prominent internet personalities came from, or at least the ones I'm more familiar with. It's through this site that people like Egoraptor, Ill Will Press, Stamper, I believe Oni, and I'm pretty sure Zontan all kinda got their first recognition and start. Not to mention, it's through this site that helped get the animated series Salad Fingers gain more recognition and a wider reach of audience. In all honesty, if you don't know too much about the site's history, I would recommend looking it up, as it's quite an interesting journey. Unfortunately though, these days Newgrounds isn't quite the powerhouse it used to be. Now, why is any of this important? Well, it's because Alien Hominid's origins begin on Newgrounds. In collaboration with the site creator Tom Fulp and animator Dan Paladin, the two made a simple Flash game called, well, Alien Hominid. Surprisingly, the game became quite popular, and the two were approached by a man named John Baez, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, who suggested that they make a console version, and even offered to help. From there, they agreed, and thus the company The Behemoth was born, with their first game being Alien Hominid, a much bigger version than the original Flash game. But, is it any good? This is certainly going to be a short segment. Alien Hominid has an extremely simple setup that doesn't really change much throughout the game. Are you ready? Cause here it is. One day an alien is flying in his spaceship, just a little too close to Earth, so some crazy FBI agents shoot down his ship. The spaceship proceeds to crash into a city, and quickly the agents take the destroyed spaceship away. After having his ride fucked up and taken, the alien proceeds to chase down the FBI agents to get back what is rightfully his, killing every agent who gets in his way, as well as Russians. That's it, and you know what, for a game like this, I'm completely fine with that. All we need is an understandable reason for why the alien is going around killing these blocky men dressed in black suits. And you know what? I too would be rather pissed if some asshat shot down my car and took it while I was just minding my own business. I mean, okay, so we don't know why the alien is flying around Earth in the first place, but aside from murdering those who gets in his way, our little alien friend seems nice. I mean, he doesn't kill the kids, at least in this version of the game, and actively pisses off some greys, but what can you do? Bottom line, I like the setup. It's simple, and it has a fun sense of humor to it as well. Alien Hominid is a 2D arcade shooter. Here's the basic gist of it all. You continually move to the right, killing everyone in your way, and defeat a boss at the end to go on to the next level. Pretty simple, right? Well, there are a few neat little mechanics here. Not only can you shoot your gun, but you can also dig underground to avoid certain attacks, though there are some moves you can't dodge this way. That, and you can only stay underground for a few seconds before your alien suffocates and dies. To quickly get across the plane and to even avoid attacks, your alien buddy can dodge roll, though keep in mind this should only be used to get out of the way of an attack, or to keep a distance between you and the enemy, as the dodge roll doesn't seem to have any iframes. At the very least, it feels pretty good to properly dodge an attack and then kill the bastard who is coming after you. Grenades are of course a fun toy to use against bosses since they take more hits than basic foes. That, and there usually isn't a huge group of foes to use these on to begin with. Unfortunately, the alien is quite fragile, so when first being spawned in, he'll come with a shield to protect him from a hit. Once that shield is gone though, then it only takes one more shot to kill you. While running through the levels, fat kids and sometimes even dead enemies will drop power-ups for you. All of these power-ups will give your weapon a different kind of effect that also applies to your grenades. Not only that, but if you lost your shield, you can sometimes regain a shield when picking up power-ups. Some of my favorite power-ups would be the purple shot that evaporates enemies, and the red shot that cuts right through them. When you're close to an enemy, the alien will cut his opponent rather than shoot them, which is actually kinda fun and feels satisfying. Hell, you can even jump onto enemies' heads and attack them from there. For the most part, the controls are pretty good and very responsive, making the actions feel quite smooth. There are a few annoying moments though, like how it can be hard to see the enemy bullets, and there are times when enemies are just thrown at you, and it's pretty easy to get hit when this happens. Personally, I like it more when I come across areas where enemies were preset, so it's more about responding to the situation rather than just flat areas where enemies keep coming in from both sides. though these things are to be expected when it comes to these types of games. And honestly, they don't bog down the game too much, since it's still a fun experience and a game that can be easily beat in like 3 to 4 hours. Most of the boss fights are very enjoyable and have some fun moves to dodge, and taking them down feels great. Though there are a few boss fights that suck, like the robot bears and that fucking crane. I hate this goddamn crane. Thankfully, there are some fun levels as well that feel distinct from each other, like a level where you go through a desert, one where you're chasing down a train, and even a level where you're fighting on top cars in a highway. There's some great stuff here. In only a few levels, you can also ride vehicles. They help change up the gameplay when they show up and are surprisingly not awful. Most of that has to do with how simple their controls are. Aside from the main game, there are a few minigames you can do, like this platforming one where you have to jump on top of enemies' heads. P.S. You can double jump in this. Something that I didn't know and completely fucked me over in the first level multiple times. Some challenges in the main gameplay, and a mode where you can fight the bosses and collect candy that they drop. Side note here, the frame rate in this mode drops like a stone in a pool, which kinda hurts the fun of it. The whole game can be played with a second person, which honestly is the preferred way to play. Having a second player makes the journey so much more fun, and the more annoying bosses less of a hassle. Hats can also be unlocked for some dumb visual fun, and it is useful for telling the differences between the aliens when playing with a friend. I think this goes without saying, but Dan Paladin really has a great and charming art style. Everything is done with 2D animated sprites, and I love it. Characters are full of expression, have very cartoony over-the-top reactions. In fact, everyone has a very cartoon-like look to their design, like the derpy looking kids and the cute little greys. I find the alien himself to be really charming. He always has this expression of joy when fighting off the bad guys, and he has a simple design that's easy to recognize. The animation is great too. Most of the sprites have some pretty smooth and fluid frames, making every shot and slice have some great impact. Also, colors. There are so many different colors in this game, and they all complement the art style very well. Though admittedly, the backgrounds can get a bit repetitive, making them a bit dull at times. As for the music though, it's alright. I don't hate it, and for the most part it does fit the tone and world of the game, but too many of the tracks sound very similar to each other and don't stand out too much. Sure, the title theme is great, and so is the final boss theme, but as for the levels, well, it isn't until level 3-4 when I actually started liking the music. Again, it's not bad, it just could have been better. So, would I recommend Alien Hominid? Yes, I would actually. It's a fun, simple 2D shooter that feels very much like the arcade games it was inspired by, like Metal Slug. There are fun and memorable levels, easy to understand controls, entertaining power-ups, mostly well-designed boss fights, and an overall charming and unique art style. Don't get me wrong, there are some moments of poor enemy placement and a few bosses that aren't very good, but as a whole, I think it's a good game. If you enjoy 2D shooters and arcade-style games, you should totally give this game a try. After all, it's a short game that can be easily beat in a few hours. This is also a good game to play with friends if you just want to hang out and have a good time. As of today, the behemoth is still making games, getting a lot of recognition for the game Castle Crashers, a title I haven't yet played but really want to. Anywho, I ended up beating a game much sooner than I thought it would, so I'll see you all next time where we'll be taking a look at that. Adios!